This week on Money Matters, the extended drought in the country is drying up resources with economic losses at blistering levels. Which sectors need relief? If you were to pick up a new car today, what color would it be? We'll look at some of the most well-liked automobile hues both here and abroad. Everything you need in one pouch. Korea's favorite pick-me-up coffee sachets or mix sticks are heading overseas along with local mega coffee brands. What stories matter in Asia? We'll look at the changing landscape of business in Korea and the rest of Asia on Money Matters. Hello everyone, I'm your interim host, Sang-hee. Thank you for joining us this week. We'll start off with some of the top business headlines across Asia. Korea's financial institutes will not face major losses even in the face of a Greek default, with damages so far not being at significant levels. According to the Financial Supervisory Service, the amount of money from the country's financial companies at exposure or at risk of loss as of the end of March was at around $1.2 billion, which is roughly 1.3% of total exposure. Now, the sum is reportedly from ship financing extended to Greece by the Export-Import Bank of Korea, which allows the lender to take ship projects as collateral. 57 nations came together for the signing ceremony of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank backed by China. The founding members gathered in Beijing to sign the Articles of Agreement for the Global Institute that's expected to rival the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank. Korea will contribute $3.7 billion to the total $100 billion capital base, making it the fifth largest shareholder with a near 4% stake. Korea and 6 Central American countries have launched negotiations to ink a free trade pact as Seoul hopes to become the first Asian nation to secure a competitive edge in a market of 44 million people. The 6 countries are Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Panama. Trade between Korea and the Central American nations stood at roughly $5 billion last year. Now that's just 0.5% of the country's total trade volume, but if a deal is sealed, Seoul is expected to benefit in the fields of automobiles, auto parts, and electronics. Foreign investors have snatched up a net $8 billion in the country's bourses so far this year. According to market operator Korea Exchange, as of June 17th, chemical stocks in general were the most popular, seeing a net $1.6 billion snapped up. For individual companies, memory chip producer SK Hynix enjoyed the best performance with a net purchase of $860 million. Offshore investors held roughly 33% in total market cap, a dip from 34% as of last year. We're seeing the worst drought in 40 years. Korean farmers and many across the nation have been waiting for rain, but the limited showers so far have fallen short in providing enough relief. Now, as the price of produce climbs, the burden for consumers gets heavier as well. We look at how this drought is pummeling different sectors across the country and what can be done.
Facing the worst drought in 40 years, Korea's rice paddies are parched with cracks exposed, while reservoirs supplying agricultural and drinking needs are hitting rock bottom. I'm here at the largest dam in Korea, the Soyang Dam in Gangwon-do Province. As a multi-purpose dam, it provides flood control and generates hydroelectricity and water supplies to the Greater Seoul area and the central regions of the country. But due to a prolonged dry spell, the water level here has been decreasing by 32 to 35 centimeters every day, threatening vital supplies of water and electricity to millions of people. Levels at the Soyang Dam stand at a drought warning stage. Many farmers upstream of the Soyanggang River have completely given up on harvest for this season, plowing over rice paddies to save what little water there is. Satellite images from Arirang 3 illustrate just how dire the situation is. In 2012, you could clearly see the winding Soyanggang River, being the largest river in Korea by volume. But this year, it appears to be nothing more than a streamlet trickling along an empty riverbed.
저수위가 예년 대비 14m 정도 낮고 저수율은 예년의 65%입니다. 용수 비축 강화를 위해서 소양강댐, 충주댐과 한강수계 발전댐의 연계 운영을 시작하였으며 지난주부터는 팔당댐 하류 방류량 조정으로 소양강 충주댐에 하루 380만 톤씩 용수 비축을 시행하고 있습니다.
The worst affected by the drought is the agricultural industry. Many farmers have already pulled the plug on all operations, meaning they face losing their entire harvest for this year.
오늘 비가 온다 기다리는데 비가 안 와버리고 오다 말아 쫙 몇 방울 떨어지고 그럼 고구마도 막 갈아만 놓고 비가 안 오는 거 못 붙이고 있어.
A shortage in the supply of produce is driving up the price of fruits and vegetables. This time last year, the price of cabbages stood at around 2,600 won, or slightly over $2 for 10 kilograms. This is more than double this year, as other produce such as green onions and onions have soared as well. And it's consumers that will feel the pinch down the line.
국가 경제 입장에서 보면은 농산물 가격이 상승하기 때문에 가격이 오르게 되면은 거기에 따른 이제 소비자 물가가 올라가고 그런 것들이 이제 국민 경제에 이제 부정적인 영향을 미치게 되겠습니다. 물가가 올라가게 되면 아무래도 장바구니 물가, 소비자들이 이제 피부로 느끼는 이제 피부 물가라고 하는데요. 그런 이제 물가 상승에 따라서 식품에 대한 소비 지출이 비용이 늘어나게 됩니다. 그래서 가계에 압박이 되는 그러한 요인이 되겠습니다.
In order to minimize the instabilities in supply, the government is increasing its reserves of fresh produce through contract farming. Meanwhile, on the country's bourses, stocks are seeing a mixed bag of responses in light of the drought.
직접적인 피해를 받는 농수산물 유통, 이 판매에서는 다소 부정적인 어떤 시장 상황이 형성될 수 있겠고요. 반면에 이 관계시설, 치수, 용수 산업 그리고 물 관련 산업에 있어서는 보다 좀 희망적인 상대적으로 그런 평가가 따르는 것으로 전망됩니다.
Local governments in the central region, which have clobbered by the prolonged drought, are clawing together resources to secure future water supplies. It costs around $10,000 to build a single pipe accessing deep underground water. Building a comprehensive groundwater supply network in these regions is estimated to cost $2.7 billion.
지하수가 점점 좀 수위가 떨어지고 고갈되는 편이니까 저희가 개발하는 쪽에서도 실패할 확률도 많고 그다음에 더 깊이 파야 되니까 개발주들도 개발 비용을 더 많이 부담해야 되는 그런 상황입니다.
Of course, the quickest and surest solution to these problems would be for the country to see significant rainfall. During long dry spells, such rain can channel an economic value at an impressive level. 5 millimeters of rain nationwide for one day could relieve 240,000 households in need and trim down on damages by $6.3 million. Around $3 million worth of water supplies would be secured and air pollutants would be washed away, creating over $200 million in value. The government is actively seeking ways to provide financial aid to affected regions by setting aside drought relief funds, exempting tuition for students, and extending deadlines on low-interest state loans. And it's also calling on the public to conserve water and lend a helping hand to farmers in order to minimize damage to secondary and tertiary industries.
Thinking about buying a new car but don't know which color to go for? On today's In Numbers, we'll be taking a look at some of the most popular car color choices seen around the world and whether those same options are seen here on the streets of Korea. The vehicle paint giant PPG Industries releases an annual report on just which car colors are the most popular of the year. And the most recent survey reveals another year of victory for the color white. Up 3% from last year's survey, white cars make up 28% of car color preference. It's a color that for decades has been popular, but within the past few years has consistently dominated car sales around the world. And for those on the dark side, black is another classic favorite, making up 18%. But for those who live in the city or are exposed to high levels of air pollution, it can be hard to maintain that crisp black color. That's why many opt for the silver or gray option, which comes in at third place at 13%. Now, following the top three are natural colors, which include gold, beige, yellow, orange, and brown. And last to make the top five is the red category. Now, these are the most popular car color choices as of late. Now, let's narrow the scope and take a look at the car market of Korea. It seems that contrary to the global preference, Koreans have a different favorite when it comes to car colors. Silver and gray takes first place at 35%. The next most popular choice is white at 32%. That's followed by black cars at 16% of the market. The achromatic color scheme dominates the streets of Korea, making up a whopping 83% of the total market. Now, the remaining 17% of the market is made up of red, blue, brown, green, and yellow cars. But what are some of the reasons behind these conservative color choices? Well, for one, customers have cited the practicality and functionality of these colors as a major factor. White and black are classic colors that stay current throughout the lifespan of a car. And silver and gray are said to hide the flecks and dust, reducing the need for maintenance, which might be one reason why this color has a roughly 10% higher resale value than its counterparts. But nowadays, with many car options, colors, and variations being created by car manufacturers, experts predict that in the next few years we'll be seeing more natural colors, such as coppers, browns, and golds. Well, that wraps up today's In Numbers. I'll be sure to keep an eye on any new trends and developments coming your way. Trends in business evolve rapidly by the day, and here with the most eye-catching stories is, of course, our Misorang. So, Misorang, what do you have for us today?
Well, our first topic is about immigration. Now, Koreans often cite better employment and education prospects as reasons for immigrating overseas. And the same is true for the 9 million Chinese nationals living abroad, but an increasing number are also moving to escape smog in the country, which is home to 7 of the world's 10 worst air-polluted cities. And while wealthy English-speaking countries such as the US, Canada, and Australia still remain top destinations, Eastern European countries such as Romania, Hungary, and Bulgaria have been rising as attractive alternatives for the middle class. And this is because living costs are cheaper in comparison, but the countries are still rich in natural and cultural heritage. On the receiving end, European nations are welcoming Chinese immigrants to fuel their slowing economies and dwindling populations. Many of the world's super-rich own extravagant houses that match their fat bank accounts. Saudi prince and business magnate Al-Walid bin Talal lives in a mansion with 420 rooms, while Larry Ellison, founder of software company Oracle, reportedly spent $200 million to build his Japanese-themed house in Malibu. But other billionaires prefer to keep it simple. CEO of Leonardo Software Aaron Patzer lives in a humble single-bedroom in Palo Alto, while Airbnb co-founder Brian Chesky moved out of his San Francisco home 5 years ago and has been moving from one Airbnb listing to another to quality test his services firsthand.
So they're definitely polar opposites. They're all super rich, but they have different lifestyles and different sets of values. Moving on, foreign franchise restaurants seem to be disappearing off the streets of Korea. What's the reason behind this?
Well, it's quite simple. Customer numbers are falling, so they're being forced to downsize. In fact, even the market leader, American franchise Outback Steakhouse, which, as you know, enjoyed phenomenal success in Korea and boasted over 100 branches at one point, even they've had to scale back, closing down a third of their stores earlier this year. And in their place, local dining brands have flourished. For example, Seasons Table, which is a buffet restaurant serving traditional Korean food, it opened its 18th store within just 2 years of its launch. Market watchers say foreign brands have been sluggish in responding to fast-changing trends by sticking to existing menus and interior layouts, and this has ultimately cost them losing customers to more hip and trendy restaurants that boast healthier menus.
Well, there used to be an Outback Steakhouse in my neighborhood that closed down 2 months ago. But unlike foreign franchise restaurants, there seem to be more convenience stores on the streets. Correct me if I'm wrong, Korea has the highest number of shops per capita in the world, but Japan is no exception when it comes to an abundance of convenience stores.
You're absolutely right. Japan has over 50,000 convenience stores, so as you can imagine, competition is very fierce, and many chains are coming up with innovative ideas to stay in the game. For example, in April, Lawson, which owns a fifth of the Japanese market share, launched its first outlet geared specifically for the elderly by having specialist staff on hand that can help them choose nursing services. Meanwhile, over 600,000 customers have signed up for 7-Eleven's home delivery system, which brings lunchbox meals right to your door, while other brands have refashioned themselves into one-stop shops by sharing floor space with pharmacies, pubs, and even their famous singing booths.
Well, it's stiff competition for the store owners, but from a consumer's point of view, having all these services available must make life much more convenient.
That's right, and it's a similar situation for Korea as well. Many stores offer parcel services, luggage storage for tourists, and have comfortable eat-in areas. And some shops near college areas have study zones with desks and even powder rooms for the female students.
Well, they never seem to run out of genius ideas to make our life much more easier. Thank you for that report, Ms. Orang.
My pleasure.
The most frequently consumed product on a weekly basis in Korea is said to be coffee. A recent survey shows one person drinks an average 2 cups of coffee a day, and that's even more than they eat the country's staple kimchi dish. It's no surprise the coffee industry in the country has seen exponential growth, and our Im Yoon-hee joins us here for more. Hello, Yoon-hee.
Hello, you're absolutely right. So as more and more Koreans enjoy coffee, the market at home has been expanding at a rapid pace, and that includes related industries. Now, although Korea is not a coffee bean producer itself, it's become quite adept at exporting processed goods, and that includes coffee. So how has the domestic market transformed over the years, and what budding potential does it have elsewhere? We'll get a closer look now.
It's not hard to find an average Korean who drinks at least 1 or 2 cups of coffee a day. Although the country is not a coffee producer, the market has been growing at breakneck speed. In the early stages, Korea's coffee market was driven by instant coffee, but following the introduction of canned coffee and coffee shops, it's seen explosive growth. According to an industry survey, the market went from $1.4 billion in 2007 to $3.7 billion in 2012. With this rapid expansion, the domestic market is nearing saturation, leading companies to seek more opportunities for growth overseas. If you look at the economic value reaped from coffee, unroasted beans from Colombia will cost $12 per pound. But roasted, it would jump by 3 to 5 times. Korea does not produce green unroasted beans, but it instead imports them and roasts them to produce quality beans and instant coffee. This is where it gets a competitive edge as a coffee exporter.
이제 각 원두별로 이제 수분 함유율이라든지 또 각 원두의 개성을 살린 로스팅을 함으로써 이제 원두 고유의 맛을 잘 살리고 있습니다.
우리는 형용사가 굉장히 풍부한 그런 나라입니다. 형용사가 풍부하다는 것은 맛에 대한 표현이 다양하다는 거고, 그런 맛에 대한 표현이 다양하다고 하는 것은 그런 맛을 실제로 섬세하지만 낼 수 있다는 얘기가 되는 거거든요. 그러다 보니 콜롬비아나 브라질, 이제 그쪽에 있는 재배자리나 관계자들이 한국 시장에 와서 한국의 커피 맛을 배우려고 노력을 많이 합니다.
In Russia, where tea and coffee drinks are popular, Lotte's Chilsung canned coffee, Let's Be, is said to be the most popular. Following the first overseas shipment in 2005, it's been growing by 62% each year. Last year, it posted $6.9 million in revenue.
한국 시장에서 검증된 차별화되고 다양한 구색의 제품과 최상의 품질을 바탕으로 러시아 어디에서나 따뜻하게 즐길 수 있고 국민에게 사랑받는 독보적인 국민 대표 캔커피로 자리 잡게 되었습니다.
When it comes to instant coffee, sachets or sticks, a deal to ship more than 500,000 cups to Central and South America, home to some of the leading coffee producers, was signed earlier this year. Looking back on sachet exports from the year 2000, while only 1,600 tons were shipped out for $4.5 million, in 2012, this number grew to 14,600 tons, worth $660 million. And it's not been just bean producers that are eyeing a larger market. Korea's local coffee shop franchises have been jumping in on this trend.
There are over 19,000 cafes located in Korea nationwide. And of the local brands expanding overseas is Cafe Bene. Now, they first made their move in 2007 and have since opened 37 stores in the U.S. and have expanded to over 11 countries across Asia, with over 500 stores open outside of Korea.
One of the things this company focuses on the most is its roasting. By using hot air only, it says it can produce beans that always taste consistent.
Cafe Bene has created a new model for coffee lovers and entrepreneurs with a well-developed franchise system and helpful business assistance and planning. And now we have a plan to branch out for more countries and open more stores with our existing partner globally.
One of the most attractive markets for coffee companies is China. With its rapid growth and swelling consumer base, it's poised to become the largest coffee market in the world within the next decade.
근데 우리가 1년 평균 270잔의 커피를 먹는다면 중국은 아직 5잔밖에 안 됩니다. 그만큼 개발의 여지가 무궁무진하다는 것이죠. 그럼 우리가 경쟁력을 갖기 위해서는 이제 산지까지 가야죠. 산지에 가서 좋은 재료를 골라내고 그거를 또 잘 표현하고 소비자들 스스로 좋은 커피를 찾게 만드는 그런 캠페인이 필요합니다. 그래야지만 지속 가능하고 건강한 커피 생태계가 만들어지는 것입니다.
It's now been over a century since coffee was first introduced in Korea. Over time, new tastes have been continually developed, and now the country looks overseas to export its goods back to coffee-producing countries, with even more potential to come.
So, Yuni, we just saw Korean coffee being exported to countries in Central and South America, but what are some of the other areas? And I want to know, why has Korean coffee been so well received overseas?
Right. So when it comes to exports, the bulk of it comes from instant coffee sachets or stir-ins. Now, Japan and China have been some of the main destinations. And in Japan, similar to the Korean market, instant coffee is loved for its convenience. And in China, 60% of the market is already taken up by instant mixes. So Korean brands have capitalized on that. Now, Korean coffee shop franchises are also very active abroad as well. And one of the successful marketing tactics that's been used is the popular Korean idol stars and celebrities. Now, after that, localized products as well as good service have also played a big role in the, success of these coffee brands.
Well, the fact that exports are doing so well must mean that people enjoy the taste of Korean coffee as well.
Right, you're absolutely right. So in the case of instant coffee, the process is extremely important. Now, the coffee has to taste like the beans were recently roasted, and the key technology behind this is freeze drying, where the liquid is forced from the frozen coffee. Now, Korean companies have proven that they've mastered this technique, producing coffee flavors that have appealed to many people. But also another favorite aspect of Korean mixed coffee is the ability to really control the amount of sugar that gets put in with the stick coffee.
No, that's something I didn't know. Thank you for that, Yuni.
You're very welcome.
Well, that's all we have on Money Matters. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll bring you plenty more stories as they unfold in Asia and give you a view of the changing landscape of business in the region. I'm Hwang Sang-hee. Thanks for watching.